welcome you to the Sunday morning service of People's Church of Divine Prophecy. Today's lecture is Reverend Larry Murphey. Music will be performed by Ronnie Austin. We are located at 125 West International Drive in the Daytona Metaphysical Books used bookstore. We hope you'll join us.
Our service is divided into 3 parts. The first part is our spiritual healing portion. The second part, we have an inspirational lecture. And then we have a demonstration of spiritual gifts. Please be seated. Thank you, Ron. Now it gives me great pleasure to introduce our speaker today. It's Reverend Larry Murphey. He is a evidential healer from Holly Hill. He's been healing for 18 years and been ordained for 16 years, Melchizedek order. Now, if everybody would welcome Reverend Larry Murphy.
I got 6 little stories that I want to try to make my point with. The first one is 18 years ago when I started healing. I called my sister up in Illinois. We hadn't talked to a lot of years, and told her I could heal people. So at the time she answered the phone, she had a high fever and was in the middle of an asthma attack. So the first thing I had to do was heal the asthma attack. And so then she said she'd had colitis for 20 years, couldn't eat a piece of fried food without going to the bathroom, and she was diabetic. So I said, okay, I'll do a healing on that. So about 6 days later, she calls back and she says, the colitis went away for 6 days or 5 days, whatever it was, but it came back because I was testing it and I was eating fried food 3 times a day. So then she wanted me to make it go away again. I said, okay, but just don't test it. So a couple days later, she calls, I've never been constipated in my life, but now I get constipated. I said, okay, I'll get rid of that. So I get rid of that. So then she calls a couple of days later. She says, I can see out of my eye. And I said, well, so what? And she said, well, I've been totally blind in it for 40 years. And then I remembered when I was little, and she's about 4 years younger than me, I remember Mom getting mad at her and threw a baby spoon, hit her in the eye. And I knew growing up, her eye was crooked, but I didn't know she was totally blind in it. So she didn't get full vision, but she had side vision, which she could read books or whatever she wanted to. It was hard for her to drive a car at first because she wasn't used to seeing anything over there, And so then as time went on, she had a friend that was in a hospice type situation. Her liver had gone, and she had picked out her coffin, and her mother-in-law brought her grave plot. So I guess she's pretty close to biting a bullet. So anyway, I told my sister, I said, well, I'll do a healing, but don't say nothing to her. Don't give her false hope or anything. So anyway, about 3 days later, she's home, and 30 days later, she's back at work. So these are some of the different things. But one of my favorite ones is because of Brenda. She had an employee that was working. For some reason, she was down here, not up north with her little boy. And I guess she's separated from her husband. But 45 days old, Lucas had lung collapse. So by the time he was 6, he had 36 cases of pneumonia and lung collapse. Now he's 8 years old. He has nothing but scar tissue. And the doctor told the mother that they're going to have to operate because he's going to die without the lungs, but he'll probably die on the operating table too. So they didn't give him too much of a chance. So anyway, Brenda told her about me. So the morning of the operation, I sat in front of the house and I did my thing. It takes a couple of minutes because I figured if God can create the universe or the Big Bang in a couple of seconds, it don't take a whole long time to heal a person. So 2 minutes is fine. So during that time, I had a vision of a little boy looking at me, and he was smiling, and like a little 8-year-old boy, like Lucas was, and he had looked like a little Opie Taylor with striped shirt and little blue tight blue jeans. So I figured he's going to be all right. So that night, talked to the mother, and she said 2 hours for the operation. They did the final scans, and all the scar tissue, everything was gone. He had new lungs. So the doctor said it was a miracle. And so when she told him about me, he says, well, if you believe in that kind of thing. So you get a lot of that. You know, the doctors say, well, it's a miracle. But then you figure out that somebody else might be involved. Well, if you believe in that. So those are some of the good things. Now, on the other hand, we have the smaller things. When I was a kid, I spent a lot of my lifetime in a dump. And my dad had salvage rights to the dump, and later on ran the dump for the city. So I spent a lot of time digging into dump banks for junk and stuff to salvage, along with the rats and the flies. And so anyway, my dad used to like to go to a Clark gas station, drink pop, and so he left me in charge of the dump a lot. There was one trucker, a leafman, all the guys worked in the factory, and they had part-time trash routes. So about twice a month, he would come in, and he'd give me a Butterfinger. Not a nickel Butterfinger, but one of those great big, like 20-cent Butterfingers. And I didn't know when he was going to give them to me, but I knew that he would give me one about twice a month. And that made me happy. And so years later, I see in the paper when he died, I was reading his obituary, he had a boy about my age. And so I called him up and told him the kindness that his dad had done for me all those years. And it made the boy feel good that his dad was that kind-hearted. And so another one is I do what I do, I guess. But anyway, one years ago, our phone come home from washing cars, and our phone was unhooked or disconnected or whatever. So I got hold of the phone company and said, well, you go to the Greyhound bus terminal, Western Union, and you mail the money in, and you get your phone on quicker. So I did that. So out in the parking lot, there's this guy out there, and he's got his arms up in the air, and he's yelling and screaming, whatever, carrying on. So I asked the guy at Western Union, I says, is he violent? He said, I don't know, he's been out there a long time. I said, okay. Well, I had $5 left. So I walked up to him, and I was looking in his eyes as I was doing it. And as closer I got, the less screaming. And finally, it was face to face. I was looking at him, and I handed him $5. I didn't say anything. And he just, in a normal voice, just said, thanks. And I just turned around and left. And I wasn't a healer back then or anything, but somehow it brought him down from crazy land back down to normal. So, or vice versa, I don't know, weird sometimes. So these are some of those things. And then the reason I have these feathers here is I tell people a lot of times, I says, when I heal them, I says, give me a rock or a feather or something, And so Eddie, he worked at one of the car lots I washed cars on, and so I did healing on him and his sister. And so every so often he brings me feathers. Kind of unique, is pink ones this time. And so I told him, I says, you did me a kindness. He said, oh, I just bought you some feathers. I says, no. I says, you was thinking about me, and you went to trouble bringing them over to me. I says, you did a kindness, and so now it's on your soul. Oh, I said, yeah, it's too late. You did it. It's on your soul. It's going to be there for eternity. You did me a kindness. And he was thoughtful. So anyway, now we got the extremes. You got what people would say miracles, and you got the ones that people would say, so what sometimes. Now, if you go and remember the Bible verse, the widow's mite, and they didn't have a coin called widow's mite, but that's what they referred to it from the parable. So anyway, the woman, that was her last coin. Her last coin. She had nothing else to give. So now there were other people there that had a lot to give, probably didn't give a whole lot. So what I'm trying to point out is, what is the difference on your soul? You get more brownie points from saving somebody's life if you have the ability to do it? Or do you get just the same amount of brownie points when you don't have the ability and you do a kindness to other people? Unsolicited kindness. Not thinking about it before you do it, just doing it. And like, even though in 18 years I've probably done healings on 11,000 people. And I never charged them. But if 11,000 people would someday say, when I called this guy up, I didn't know who he was. Or when he approached me on the street, I didn't know who this guy was. Total stranger. But he took the time to heal me. Now, of course, I get my brownie points for that. My soul's got a lot of brownie points. So anyway, these people then in turn someday will maybe think of the experience, and when they see somebody else say, well, I can't do what he did, but I can do what I can do, and I can help other people. Some way or another. There's some way. If you're homeless, you can help people. If you're rich, you help people. But if you do it from the heart and with compassion, it's all more meaningful to do that. Now, when I first started healing years ago, the first 2 years I thought God didn't like me. I was working 12, 18-hour days and still didn't have a whole lot of money, but people would say, oh, gee, you're a ascended master, you're this, you're that. I said, no, I'm an ascended idiot. I'm spent healing people, and I'm wore out, I'm tired. I just, and so I thought God didn't like me, and to me, at first, it was a job. I said, since I can do it, then I guess God wants me to do it. So that's the way I thought about it. I just figured, well, it's just like, I go wash cars and I heal people, wash cars, heal people. So it's a job. And after about 2 years, and I was meditating before I was going to work, and this girl, females should like this, it was a girl in a monk's robe. And 2 weeks before that, there was like a white light up here. And you could see the white light, but you could look really directly in the white light. You knew it was there. So anyway, the girl in the monk's robe didn't say nothing. We looked at each other, and she just went slowly, raised her arms like this up in the air. And while she was doing it, I could feel my heart moving. I could feel love and compassion coming overwhelmingly into me. And unless you experience that, there's no way to really explain it.